What have you seen? You've seen more manufacturing in this country since any time since World War II.
I've seen real wages go down. I've seen, crime.
That's not true.
What's not true?
I just don't agree with that.
Real weekly wages have gone down.
Gina Raimondo is the Commerce Secretary for the Biden-Harris administration, and she's now a surrogate for the Harris campaign, which tells me that should Kamala Harris win, she'll have an even higher profile cabinet secretary position. Now, she's the former governor of Rhode Island, and she was on CNBC today. Now, let me remind you, she is the Secretary of Commerce, and she's on CNBC. Commerce, business cable channel. They're going to ask her about the economy and stuff going on. You'd think that she knows what she's talking about. Let's check in on Gina Raimondo and see how that's going.
By the way, he was president. We know what that resulted in. Massive deficits.
Seems like you kind of forgot that earlier. Yeah, and the tariffs that he did put on were continued by the Biden administration. There was no recession. Real wages were actually up. Stock market did well. A lot of very positive things happened. Record low unemployment until the pandemic. So it's just weird to act like it's a complete wild card what kind of president he would be when you've got a blueprint right there of what kind of president he would be. And Kamala Harris has been vice president for 4 years, and we've seen exactly what kind of vice president she would be.
Right. What have you seen? You've seen more manufacturing in this country since any time since World War II.
I've seen real wages go down. I've seen, crime.
That's not true.
What's not true?
I just don't agree with that.
Real weekly wages have gone down. Average weekly wages are still down from when Biden came into office.
When Biden came into office, we saw sky-high unemployment, sky-high.
Yeah, if you repeat it 3 times, it's going to be true. Sky-high unemployment, sky-high unemployment. We don't need to be Joe Kernan, who, by the way, is doing a hell of a job. It's like CNBC. It's like Joe Kernan at CNBC is like, screw it. We got 6 weeks left. I'm not even going to try anymore. He's going to destroy any Democrat who comes on that. Remember him from Mark Cuban last week? We had a pretty good time. But these Democrats are not used to this, right? They see the peacock in the NBC letters and they think, oh, it's going to be Rachel Maddow. And I said, Joe Kernan in the morning show is a little bit different. And he actually brings a little truth to the table. So she made the mistake of saying, Trump's been president. We know what that looks like. Can we watch this again? Because there's something actually cathartic about it, especially if you look at her face. This is the Commerce Secretary. Don't give an opening like that, lady. Because you know full well how things were under Trump versus how they are right now.
Was president. We know what that resulted in. Massive deficits.
Seems like you kind of forgot that earlier. Yeah, and the tariffs that he did put on were continued by the Biden administration. There was no recession. Real wages were actually up. Stock market did well. A lot of very positive things happened. Record low unemployment until the pandemic. So it's just weird to act like it's a complete wild card what kind of president he would be when you've got a blueprint right there of what kind of president he would be. And Kamala Harris has been vice president for 4 years, and we've seen exactly what kind of vice president she would be.
Right. What have you seen? You've seen more manufacturing in this country since any time since World War II.
I've seen real wages go down. I've seen, crime.
That's not true.
What's not true?
I just don't agree with that.
Real weekly wages have gone down. Average weekly wages are still down from when Biden came into office.
When Biden came into office, we saw sky-high unemployment,
Pandemic.
I do love the repeated 3 times thing. By the way, notice what she did there, which is, first of all, sky-high unemployment. We all know why. It wasn't because there were no jobs or the economy was doing bad. It was because Democrat governors, taking the cue from Anthony Fauci, told you to stay home. You wanted to go to work. You wanted to get out of the house. You did not want to sit on a Zoom all day or play Xbox. That was not unemployment. That was the government intervening in the economy and forcing you to stay home because of the communist Chinese, the Wuhan lab, and Anthony Fauci, and Gavin Newsom and Andrew Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer wanting to win the presidential election for Joe Biden. It wasn't unemployment. We know that. But also notice something that happened there. Joe Kernan said, when she says, well, what did you see under Kamala Harris? And he said, well, real wages are down. Weekly real wages are down from when Donald Trump was president. That's just a fact. And her response, we had sky-high unemployment when we took office. She didn't even address the real wages issue. She just ignored it and then went to a lie about unemployment. She's bad. She's really bad. But it's even worse. What she lies about is bad. But what's even worse is what she's ignorant of. She was asked about a strike going on right now with longshoremen, dock workers, right? It's a major strike. It's a problem for the supply chain. It's a problem for the economy at the worst possible time, right? She's asked about that. She's the Secretary of Commerce. Watch her answer.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week?
Again, I have not been very focused on that.
Yeah. She's the Secretary of Commerce. She's asked about one of the single most important issues right now, a strike of dock workers affecting supply chain and commerce. She's not real focused on that. She's focused on the Kamala Harris campaign. Joe Biden, by the way, as he was exiting his car yesterday, making his way to Air Force One in Delaware to go back after another long vacation, he addressed the dock workers' strike, although he wasn't actually asked about the dock workers' strike and the longshoremen. He was asked about an Israeli strike against Yemen, against terrorists in that country. In fact, he was asked 3 questions about what's going on in the Middle East with the Israeli Defense Forces and the strikes against Hezbollah and Hamas, specifically the strike in Yemen. Watch his answer.
Mr. President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the Middle East?
Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
Both sides have got to settle the strike. Support the collective bargaining effort. I think they'll settle the strike.
I don't know if you caught that because, again, the man is so disrespectful to we, the American people, that he's only going to say things to us while standing under the roaring engine of Air Force One instead of actually giving the media and the American people the dignity of a press conference. But he was asked about the strikes in Yemen. And he said, I've talked to both sides. I believe in the collective bargaining process, and I believe that the strike will be resolved. In other words, he was asked about a military strike against terrorists in Yemen, and he answered about the longshoremen's strike, the labor strike here in America. You know, thankfully, we've got nothing but peace and prosperity around the world, and the economy is great, and there's no dangers to the American people, and crime is down, and everything's fantastic in this country. Otherwise, you know, we'd be a little concerned about the fact that our president is completely and totally mentally disabled. But back to Gina Raimondo. She's really something else. Not only did she have that performance this morning on CNBC, where she lied through her teeth and was reduced to a quivering mess thanks to Joe Kernan actually bringing facts about the economy under Donald Trump versus under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Not only did she admit that as Commerce Secretary, she's not in any way engaged with the single most important issue domestically affecting the commerce of our country, the longshoremen strike, but also last week, she said this about Donald Trump.
He says is the opposite. It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done.
I'm sorry. Donald Trump has had to withstand 2 assassination attempts in 2 months. They've had to cancel or reorganize one of his campaign appearances in Wisconsin because there wasn't enough Secret Service assets to protect him properly, because there are active assassination plots against him from the government of Iran. And because of the Biden-Harris administration's lack of border security, we know that some of those would-be assassins have crossed illegally into this country and are still at large. And a surrogate for the Harris campaign and the current sitting Secretary of Commerce for Joe Biden said what again about Donald Trump? That we need to defeat him in November, that we have to win the election. We need to make sure that he loses the election. Is that what she said?
He says is the opposite. It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good.
No, it wasn't let's defeat him. Let's win the election. Let's ensure that he loses. Let's end his political career. No, let's extinguish him for good, she said. Gina Raimondo, your Secretary of Commerce. You know what? I'm not done with her yet. One more. In case you forgot this, the week of the Democrat National Convention in August, it was revealed that for an entire year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics had been over-reporting jobs to favor Bidenomics, to favor the Biden-Harris record. Remember this? And so in the middle of August, they revised an entire year's worth of jobs numbers down by nearly 1 million jobs. In other words, every monthly unemployment report we were getting, they were over-reporting those numbers to the tune of 1 million jobs over the course of a year. So in August, they revised those numbers down. She's the Secretary of Commerce. The Department of Labor Statistics from the Department of Labor work hand in hand with the Department of Commerce because these numbers are important to, our commerce policies, unemployment, jobs, supply chain, dealing with foreign nations and investments in companies here domestically. It's her job to know about this stuff. So during the convention, this very same Gina Raimondo, who you've been walking down this path with me today, I hope you always remember her name, former governor of Rhode Island, current Secretary of Commerce, who knows she could be the Treasury Secretary under Kamala Harris. She checks a few boxes, don't you know? Here was her response when asked about the downward revision of 1 million jobs over the course of a year. Watch.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
When asked about the 1 million job revision by the Department of Labor, her initial response was, well, that's coming from Donald Trump. That's a lie. When corrected, by the way, ABC News, talk about a unicorn moment, fact-checking a Democrat. When she learns that, in fact, it is true because it came from the Department of Labor Statistics, your Secretary of Commerce said, I'm not familiar with that. She's not involved. Well, what the hell is she doing? What the hell are any of them doing? Any of them. You may have people in your life who are on the fence about this election, who aren't sure how to vote, and they don't like either of the candidates, and that's fine. Honestly, grow up. I don't think I've liked any of my candidates my entire life that I've voted for president. Maybe W over John Kerry. That's certainly over Gore. You know what? Because I just detest Al Gore. But almost every presidential election of my lifetime, it's been the lesser of two evils, all right? And I get it. You don't like Donald Trump. You don't like Kamala Harris. You're not sure what to do. Can I please, if it's not you, if it's someone in your life, can you please implore them, please, you're not just voting for the president. You're voting for their team. You're voting for the people that they will put in place. Look at who they have in place right now as the Secretary of Commerce. You wonder why our economy is in the toilet right now? Toilet, forget it. It's in a porta-john. There's no flushing this economy. It's so bad. You wonder why? It's because bright lights like Gina Raimondo are currently cabinet secretaries with an important function in our economy. And you think it's going to get better with Kamala Harris at the helm? Please, try to make that case with people who are on the fence. Say, look, don't try to argue. Don't try to explain to them, oh, you don't like Donald Trump? Here's why you should. No, don't. It's kind of hard to make someone like someone that they don't like. Don't even try. Just say, listen, okay, fine, I get it. But you've got to be with the rest of the American people that you agree with him on policies, because he's winning on every policy right now except abortion, I guess. But even if it's not about policies, just look at the team that he'll put together. Or even better, look at the team she'll put together. Look at the team they already have. From Janet Yellen to Pete Buttigieg to Antony Blinken to Lloyd Austin to Gina Raimondo. The incompetence isn't even an appropriate description. Try that. Just say, listen, I get it. You don't want to vote for that guy? Fine. Vote for the people. Vote for the team, because that team did pretty good 4 years ago. You know it. I know it. We all know it. Let's see if that works.